And it never came because in that moment, I wasn't in that body any longer. Now I'm above it and I'm in the corner of the room, almost like a neutral corner. It's a square room, like picture a boxing ring, and I'm in the neutral corner and I just knocked myself out, right? And my energetic self is looking down on my lifeless body.
Hello, fellow trailblazers, leaders, and just wonderful, marvelous people. We are here today with Ray Catania in the studio. He's not in the studio. I always feel like people are with me, but he's on the podcast today, Write Your Outcome. And woohoo, today we are going there. For those of you who don't know me well, I am a very deep spiritual person. And for my whole life, I've known things. For those of you who know this about me, we're going to have a lot of fun. For those of you who don't, you're going to learn a lot about me today. But before I get into these questions with Ray, which I can't wait, let me say hello. Welcome, Ray.
Michelle, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and it's an honor and a pleasure to be your guest.
I am so happy.
Now I'm tongue-tied.
We just did two takes already.
We're taking turns, yeah.
We're going to keep rolling because we're human, and that's what happens. So I am going to read his information because I don't like to do anyone an injustice by just saying it off the top of my head because there's so much quality information here. So Ray Catania is a metaphysical teacher, master certified life coach, and award-winning author. He believes that modern-day spirituality is best taught at the intersection of science and spirituality. I love this so much. He is passionate about helping others get unstuck, harness their power of their mind, and create their own reality. His first book, The Atheist and the Afterlife, is the true story of his own spiritual awakening. With a no-holds-barred approach, he shares vulnerable stories of personal trauma, mystical experiences, now I lost my place, and his ultimate transformation from an atheist to an NDE survivor, near-death experience for those of you who don't know, to an intuitive and developing medium. His second book, You Are Still Alive, Now Act Like It, I love that, shares how he developed the ability to help others through personal experience, scientific theories, and he shares his techniques with anyone who wants to recreate what he has learned. So welcome again. Let's take a double take. Welcome, Ray.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for having me as your guest. I'm honored. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm honored that you are here. So for anyone who doesn't know about near-death experiences, I myself have read a lot of books about it. I'm a total believer. You don't have to convince me, but let's start there and just tell people a little bit what that means.
Yeah, sure. Well, honestly, before it happened to me, I was not a believer. And, I came from a home of drama, trauma, chaos, anger, and all that stuff that, a child should never really be exposed to. So I rebelled against all religion and I chose to call myself an atheist. I don't even think I knew what that was, but I couldn't believe that there was any loving God that would ever allow these things to happen, So I was 20 years old and there was a fire in my home and the kitchen was located on the first floor. My bedroom at the time was on the second floor right above the kitchen. So I was sleeping and what triggered it was a gas leak in the stove, and the stove ran on natural gas. So naturally the gas rose and I was inhaling it, and this would be the problem later. So I guess in the morning, my mother came down, she turned on the stove and there was like a ball of flames. So the way I understand it, the wall caught fire. My father was able to put out the fire relatively quickly. But it wasn't the smoke or the fire. It was the gas. That was what was getting to me. So
it's almost like carbon monoxide that you don't see it.
You don't really smell it. I mean, it has a smell, but after a little bit, you don't notice it anymore. It just kind of goes away. And I was sleeping, so I really didn't notice it. So the police come, the fire trucks show up, and I hear like all this commotion that's downstairs. I want to get up to see what's going on. I don't even know what's happening yet. And I go to get up and I notice that parts of my body are completely paralyzed. They just won't move. Like my legs, for example, they felt like they were 5,000 pounds and I couldn't get them to move. My head also couldn't get it off the pillow. I couldn't yell. I couldn't do much of anything with my head. My arms work. That's about all I had. The right one better than the left. So I tried to pull myself to the edge of the bed using everything I had. I would just pull myself and then I would pass out. And then I would pull myself a little. I wake up because I hear everything and then I pass out again. And after like 3 times, I was like, if I don't get out of this bed, I know I'm dead. I know it. I can feel it. So I pulled with everything I had and I tumble out and I hit the floor face first. And there's this thump. And when I hit the floor, you know how anytime in your life when you've gotten like a bump or a bruise, you get that hit, right? And you're waiting for the pain to set in. There's like that 2 seconds before it sets in. Okay. So that pain never came. And it never came because in that moment, I wasn't in that body any longer. Now I'm above it and I'm in the corner of the room, almost like a neutral corner. It's a square room, like picture a boxing ring, and I'm in the neutral corner and I just knocked myself out, right? And my energetic self is looking down on my lifeless body. And this doesn't scare me. And I don't know why. It just, because it feels great, honestly. And adjacent to me from the other corner is a huge cone-shaped white spotlight. Now, white is all colors, I understand. So white represents everything. And this is not a light. Anyway, I'm doing this an injustice by calling it a light. This was
it's
love.
bigger than you can even describe.
Oh my God. Yeah. I was one with this entity that contained love and euphoria and painlessness and every beautiful emotion that you could ever describe or wish to have. And I proceeded to go in. It was like a tunnel, and I started to go in because there was a being at the end of the tunnel who said, Ray, it's okay. It's safe to come into the light. And I was like, this is great. I go in a little bit more. The euphoria increases. I go in a little bit more. And I'm still apprehensive, but I'm going. And at that moment, my father must have heard the thump on the floor first, came running up and burst through the door. He kicked the door in. He finds me on the floor and he scoops me up and he's like crying and he's yelling for the paramedics. And I'm looking down at this man and I see him hugging me and crying about me. And I don't really recognize that because I never saw that side of my dad. Like my dad was mean. You didn't mess with my dad, like he maybe hugged me 5 times in my whole life. And one of them I was dead. So, I wanted that. I wanted that relationship with him. I never had that relationship. So midway through the tunnel, I asked the being if I can go back because I want this with my father.
Oh, I love
and,
it.
I don't know if that's why I got to go back. I don't know, but I did wake up on the living room floor and now the paramedics are working on me with, all their tools and equipment and whatnot. And I wake up and I'm like, I don't know what's happened. I'm like, get off me. What are you doing? I feel great. Who are you? Why are you touching me?
Because you're not burned. You're just inhaled.
Right. I just inhaled. That's it. And I felt no pain. I'm still in that euphoric state. Like it carries over for a while. So I'm feeling amazing. And I'm trying to tell these guys, I've never felt better in my life. And they're like, kid, you don't even know what just happened to you. We just brought you back. You are everything but all right. You are not all right. You're going to the hospital. And I was like, but did you hear the voice? Did you see the light? And now they're looking at each other like, oh, okay, what's up with this one? Right. So I shut that down really quick because no one else saw it. I could see that nobody else saw it and they're all looking at me like I'm nuts. So
and let me stop you there. Were you on any kind of spiritual path up until this point in your life?
No.
The anti anything, just living life.
Anything.
This is it.
Total atheist. Absolutely. There's nothing after death. You die. That's it. And I lived recklessly because I didn't even care if I lived or died. And coming out of that home and that childhood, that's the way I was. Chaos was my comfort zone growing up.
Yeah.
So I knew how to manage chaos.
So now you're only 20 years old and this is that's still pretty impressionable age. you come out of this, you start telling people and they think you're crazy. So you just literally bottle it up for how long, or what happens next?
It's a good 20 years, I would say, because, well, I started to, I told my mother, she's like, that's crazy. Don't tell anybody that. That's nuts. That never happened, et cetera, et cetera. And I wasn't going near my father with that. I told a couple of friends, got the same reaction. And I was like, okay. Let's put this in perspective, Ray. I'm talking to myself now. And I figure, okay, I fell in front of a window. It was probably a sunny day. That's the white light. I inhaled gas fumes for hours. I was probably high from the gas fumes, and I hallucinated the rest.
So your logical mind starts creating something that makes sense.
That makes sense, that I can adjust to. And now I can put it in a box and I can put it away and I don't have to deal with it. And I can go back to my chaos, my comfort zone.
And so for 20 years, are you in chaos?
Well, no.
Some semblance of chaos. Or what's the thing that makes you say, I need to tell this story? Like, when does that turn come?
Oh, that comes much, much later. So, I started to turn my life around 30 when I got married and had 2 kids. The marriage fell apart quickly, but it was all about the kids. The kids became my why. So, to deal with a lot of this stuff that I didn't understand after the NDE, I knew some things. I could see things like there were just things in my room that I could see that nobody else could see. It was weird. And I just thought I was going crazy because no one could, validate it or tell me. And then I stopped telling people because I was like, all right, I'm probably losing my mind.
You need one other person to say yes.
Yeah. Just anybody,
I believe you. Yeah.
And when I was 20 and I had the NDE, we didn't have computers. I couldn't just type in. And I wouldn't have typed in NDE anyway because I didn't even know what that was.
When I was 20, I would not have known what that was. Yeah, definitely not.
But there was nowhere to go. There was no resource. So I'm going through life, and when I have my kids, where I was going with that is to take that away, the things that were happening, and to suppress that. I would drink, I would use drugs, and up until I had the kids, that's kind of what I was doing. And right after I had the kids, I checked myself into rehab. I got my crap together and I got my degree. I got a good job. And, I worked my way up the ladder, did well, did it twice. Like I said, the marriage fell apart, though. So I have the kids and they have a good life. And I want to give them everything that I did not have. And I certainly don't want them to experience chaos as the norm like I had. So I think I did that. I think I did a pretty good job. And I chose not to date for a really, really long, long time until my kids were older. And here's the turning point. So I decide that I'm going to date someone and get serious because I'm like late 40s and I figure the kids are old enough. So I go online and there's these sites, where they'll show you 4 ladies in your area to try to entice you, to get you to take out your credit card, right?
Yeah.
So
been there.
Right. So, they want you to join. So, I went to a couple of the sites and I don't know which one it was exactly. I mean, I don't know if it was the first one, second one, or third one, but I got to one and the woman that's on the right-hand side, third one down, boom. I saw her and I locked and I was like, that's my wife. That's my
Connection,
wife.
Resonance.
There was something about us. I could not put my finger on it, but I knew her. So I joined and I send one email only. It's to her. And I try to explain this, and she says, you're crazy. And I said, I know. That's what everyone says. But if you have dinner with me, I'll explain because we're really going to get married. This is going to happen, So she agrees and thinks I'm nuts. And we are together to this day. So it was definitely my soulmate. And but in the beginning, in the early days that we're dating, I have like the biggest premonition or psychic thing happen to me, which was the first time I had ever seen energy in the form of a human on the movie screen in my mind. That's the way I describe it. It's like a movie screen that opens up and I can see what's on the screen. And in this case, it was a man, beard, mustache, big guy, and he's talking to me. And he says, I effed up. I made a mistake. You can help her. I cannot. And this the first time.
And this is while you're awake or while you're sleeping?
I'm awake. I'm wide awake.
Okay. And
wide awake.
Like precognitive.
And it just drops into my head. Yeah. There it is. I'm not seeing it with my eyes. I can see what's in front of me. It's all here. It's like, it's just in my mind. It's a movie screen. And, I push it away and boom, then it comes back again. And it's the same 8-second video loop. I effed up. I made a mistake. You can help her. I cannot. And I'm like, okay, I'm back to crazy again. I'm back to crazy.
Yeah, and let me stop there. Hold your thought, because I want to go, because there's so much we don't know about the brain, about spirituality, about these different levels of consciousness. And Wayne Dyer always had a great quote. He said, a mind that is, open to everything and closed to nothing. But what happens is when you have something that's out of the ordinary, you immediately think, I'm going crazy. But we're not. Like, our brains are opening up to new ways of seeing, new ways of thinking every single day. We're evolving.
Absolutely.
So it's, finding those like-minded people that kind of speak your language. I always say that don't, so you're not crazy.
Mm-hmm. But I didn't know that.
So, but you didn't know at the time. So you have this message twice.
Yeah. So the message keeps coming, and it was a Friday, and I left work because it was so prominent. And I said, I'm going home. I don't know what's wrong. I don't feel well. I don't say anything about what I see. God forbid. I just leave. Saturday, I go to bed. I figure by Monday, this is all going to be gone, whatever it is. Saturday, though, it starts to happen what feels like every hour on the hour. He comes back and he says the same thing over and over and over. By Sunday, I can't even function. He's constantly there. And now I'm like, I'm losing my mind. I'm convinced that I am losing my mind. And I remember the defining moment. I'm in a store. I'm paying for my stuff. I don't know what I said or did, but the woman behind the counter says, "Sir, are you okay?" And I said, "No, I'm definitely not okay." And I took my credit card and I went back to my car, and I broke because I did everything right. I went to rehab. I got my education. I got a good job. I raised my kids. I had full-time custody of my kids, and I raised them, and they turned out to be good kids, I think. And I just was like, I'm repaid by craziness. Like, this is what I get back for doing everything right.
So what helps you sort it out or turn the corner like this?
So I'm about to check myself in, but before I do that, I feel like I owe it to her to tell her that, I'm crazy and you should get on with your life and find somebody normal. Right. So I proceed to tell her what I see and how I see it. The big stocky guy, the mustache, the beard, the everything, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, what does he say? And I said, I effed up. I made a mistake. You can help her. I cannot. I don't know who he is. I've never seen him before. And she goes, well, that sounds like my dad. And I was like, babe, your dad is dead. Now I'm thinking, she's nuts. I got to get out of here. Check, please. I got to go. What, you think I see dead people? That's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. And she's like, would you relax for a minute? Now, if all this isn't crazy enough, my wife is a doctor of psychology by trade. That's what she does for a living. So, I'm telling a doctor of psychology, I see people that aren't there, and she's accepting that as the possibility of being
her
real.
Intuition is stronger than her science. You need that balance.
Yeah, she knew mediums. I didn't even know what a medium was. She's like, I see mediums, and they all say the same thing. My dad comes through the way you're describing it. So she goes, why don't you meet with a medium? And I was like, oh, okay. I don't know what that is, but I will do it. And I met with a medium, and I proceeded to tell her what I see. She validated everything from the NDE all the way up to present day. She validated the whole thing. That's First huge. Time in 50 years, someone understood what I went through. 50 years.
That's so big. Yeah. So how do you go? So let's bridge. I have so much I want to get to with it, and we don't have a lot of time. But so how do you get from like, okay, now I see it, now it's validated, to where you are now, helping people? Like, I watch your YouTube videos or your Instagram, and you're like, there is no bars hold. How does it say? How do you say that?
No holds barred.
That's it. No holds barred. Yeah. And you're like, this is the deal. This is what it is, like it or not. And you're very direct, and you're not mincing words. So, you go from this, oh my God, I'm crazy, to no, this is the way it is. And I see, if you want to look him up, he has 1 million degrees metaphysics degrees. He's going for this PhD in metaphysics. I mean, this man is the real deal. So please look him up as far as that goes. But, when did you start to say, okay, I'm going to use this to help others? Or was you had to go through a dark night of the soul first? I have so much to
So
after we could go.
After that happened, I got some validation, right? And being the biggest skeptic in the world, me now, I'm the skeptic of what I'm seeing. So I go 100% into education, and I start getting it from both formal education, college. I go back to the university for metaphysics. I get my master's, working towards the doctorate, like you mentioned. But I also have mentors on the other side. And I have everybody from mediums to psychics to shaman to everything, Reiki healers, energy healers. And I'm putting this together because here's the thing. I don't expect anybody to believe what I'm saying, because if somebody had said it to me, I'd be like, you're nuts. This guy's crazy. Get rid of him. Right. But so I wanted to put together some of the physics, the laws of actual physics with spirituality, so I could back this up and I could put it into a book and I can go, here you go. I did the research. This is plausible. This is possible. And when people read it, they're like, that is possible. I get it. And that from there, I became a teacher myself and started to teach them what I learned.
I love it. So what was your saying? I wrote it down. Say it 3 ways.
Say it 3 ways. Yeah.
So let's talk about that. What does say it 3 ways mean?
That is a manifestation technique, and it's a meditative technique. So say it 3 ways is part of the foundation meditation. And what it is what we're doing when we say things 3 ways is we are creating an emotional effect within the body, because what we emit is the emotion. It's the vibration. Every emotion's on a vibration, right? A frequency, I should say. And that frequency is different. And when we send out the frequency, it finds the like match. And that is how the law of attraction works. It's frequency based. Very simple. It's like a cell phone. I dial your number, your phone rings. That's it.
It's frequency. Match.
Right. They align. So, but it's not the words. It's not the words. It's the emotion that is evoked from the words. So when a lot of people teach, say everything in the past tense. Well, okay, I could say I am wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, but I'm not wealthy. I don't believe in that. Right. There's 3 elements to the affirmation that's imperative: conceivability, believability, and achievability. You need all 3. So what I designed was a way to say it 3 ways.
I love it.
I want to be wealthy. I will be wealthy. I am wealthy. So number 1, I want is your conceivability. Number 2, I will, that's your believability. And number 3, I am is your achievability. Now everything you're saying is a truth that you can believe, because one of those 3 is your reality. And as you move from the first one to the second one to the third one and your emotions change, you're going to start to see it come to fruition.
Hello, I am interrupting this podcast with 3 surprises for you. I have been in business 25 years this August 2025. So to celebrate and thank you for your support, because I could have not done this without you, my clients, my supporters, my listeners, you have made this possible. I am offering you 3 gifts, because 3 is my lucky number. So the first gift is $125 off my signature Happiness is a Habit video series. This video series is 18 videos, about an hour and a half of video content, an 80-page downloadable PDF workbook, normally selling for about $297. Now you can get $125 off. If you go to my website, energizeyourhappiness.com, and click on the icon on the top that says a gift for you, you will see everything you need to get your $125 off this fabulous video series. Secondly, I am offering a free behind the book mini workshop on my new book, which isn't even out yet. Energize Your Happiness. I'm offering only 12, first come, first serve, A couple have already been booked, so they are dwindling quickly. But I will give you in this 45 minutes, if you get a group of people together, I will give you some takeaways that you can implement immediately, and I will host a Q&A. And thirdly, the best thing, drum roll please, I am doing live coaching right here on Write Your Outcome. If you qualify. So if you are interested in being coached live on this show, send me an email at michelle@energizeyourhappiness.com. And in the subject line, write, I want to be coached live on your show. And then tell me a little bit about what you want to be coached on. And if you qualify, we will put you in the queue. So that's 3 gifts for you, 3 fabulous ways to connect. So, claim your gifts now, make it a great day, and let's get back to the podcast. I love this. And so for many years, I was an early you're going to tease. I'm going to open my desk drawer. People aren't watching. These are index cards I wrote in 1997. That's when I started saying affirmations. But I laugh because for when I started this, I would just say them. And then I was like, what the heck, Michelle? And then I was like, I'm not believing them. I'm not feeling them. I was missing those components. So you could say you're a millionaire all day long or whatever, I'm rich, but if you don't, feel it or believe it, right, it's like empty, unanswered prayers. So again, for some of you listening to this podcast, this is the first time I've gone this deep publicly in the podcast. So, we're just going to let you guys make your own assumptions. But my whole thing is I always say, try it on for 30 days and you be the judge. And why I say that is I'm not here to force anyone to believe anything, but I ask you, when you have an open mind and you try something on and then 30 days later you go, this made a difference in my life. Mm-hmm. Then to me, that's wisdom. Like knowing I could study for a test and get the answers right, but wisdom is I know it works. Yeah. Right. So that's what the trying it on is. So I love Say It 3 Ways. I love having your schooling on one side and your mediums and your psychics and healers on the other side. We all have, Laura Lynn Jackson gave me the term team of light, which I love. This team of light, which is all the teachers and people that are always with us. And when we're getting stressed, you could call on your team of light to help you come to a decision, help you, see the right way or what you should do next. So I love that you're bringing this out to the world. I love that I really like people that weren't believers that become believers because they're the best teachers because they lived in those shoes of not believing. So tell us what you want us to know about if someone is not even starting this journey. I mean, let me back up. I watched one of your shorts, which I loved about someone was saying to you, everyone says, I wish I could have an NDE, so I can have this, these powers. And people do ayahuasca, they do these, hallucinogens because we're looking for this altered experience. Let's talk about someone who's just wanting to go deeper into their belief system. They want to start manifesting. What would be like, so now they're doing Say It 3 Ways. What are some tips or things you would tell someone starting out?
Yeah. So, you don't need to have the NDE. That's first and foremost. Right. And I don't suggest going out and trying it anytime soon because you may not be as lucky and come back, and have that experience. So, I don't want to romanticize that too much, but when you get there, it will be a beautiful thing. So you can start by dismantling the ego and understanding the different parts of the mind and how they work. Because when you understand that your ego is filtering everything that happened yesterday and kind of turning it into what it wants you to do tomorrow, and you're listening to it.
Yes.
So you're doing tomorrow what you did yesterday and you're expecting a different result. Einstein would tell you that's insanity, right? Yeah. So that's not going to work. But what if I tell you that your higher self or your awareness is attainable and it's right here? It's right here. It's not that far away. You don't have to cross over to find it. I did because I didn't believe in anything. And that's the reason. So if I didn't have that experience, I would still not believe in anything.
So that's the question. Instead of saying, so to dismantle your ego, it's what does my higher self want from me in this moment? Or what is my higher self trying to communicate in this moment? What are some steps to dismantle the ego?
Okay, so the first thing that we do is we understand how it works and why it does what it does. It's there to protect us, right? So it's always going to be in protective mode. But what happens is it protects us too much and it sets limitations for us. And it tells us we're not good enough. You can't do that. You're going to look silly. Don't do that. Don't try that. You'll fail. That's the ego. It's always saying things in the negative to hold you back so that you don't put your neck out there and look silly or look foolish. You ever wonder why you get scared in a scary movie? You know, you're sitting in a scary movie, right? And the guy comes out with a knife and you go, why? You're in a safe environment, right? It's because your subconscious reacts through the ego and says, stranger danger, faster than your conscious mind can catch up. Yes. Then the conscious mind
and
kicks in.
Let me stop you there, because that's why I always say, we don't know the difference between an imagined event and a real event.
Right.
Right. So that's why it's important to visualize where you're going, what you want. I love that example of watching the movie. Your heart beats and you're on your couch eating popcorn.
Right. And then the conscious mind comes back and says, relax, man, you're just in a movie theater. And then the ego comes back and kicks you back in the butt and says, you looked really stupid when you got really scared. So you got the ego on playing both sides and it's beating you up on both sides. You got to escape that ego and get your information from source. When you get it from source, it's pure.
I love that. So I've named my ego. Well, so I have Wanda and Grace, and Wanda is a bitch and Grace is my loving self. She runs the show way more than Grace does, but when, love for that. Me, it's having some kind of tool to, when I know I'm getting into that hardcore, like you're not good enough, you're not, smart enough, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay, Grace, what do you think? What does my highest self think? Oh my God, I know you're trying. You're the best. You're always doing your best. You want everybody to succeed. So it's being able to almost interrupt that loop before your thoughts run away with you. And what's the, oh my God, Michael Singer. I love when he says, when your thoughts run away, you don't need to go with them.
That's good.
So dismantling the ego, what I'm hearing from you is once you know what it is, you can start to dismantle it. Yeah. And now that I see, okay, this is fake, I call it fake fear because I'm really not being eaten by a lion. My heart and fight and flight went on and I'm eating popcorn.
Right.
So then how do I turn on the conscious mind? What would you say to people?
So when you learn that the differential is about probably a second, right? Because your subconscious reacts first. It has that ability to react that quickly, and your conscious mind really doesn't. Pause. Just pause. Yes. If that driver cuts you off and you get all angry and you're about to go, you blah, 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 effing this, effing that, just pause. Take a second and think about it before you do the action. Because it could change your life. It can literally change your life. So I call it press pause, and it's an exercise that I teach. Always give yourself that 1 second. Let the conscious mind determine if what you're about to do or say is required in that moment.
I like it. And what I love about it is it's applicable right now. And it's, people say count to 10, sleep on it, go for a walk. All these, there's all these sayings for a reason. So hitting the pause and then, this is your outcome. So it's like hitting the pause and then what's the outcome I want? Where do I want to go with this? So you're teaching people to, first of all, recognize their ego is what I'm hearing. Because some people might not even know they have an ego.
A lot.
Teaching them how to dismantle it and then teaching them how to make better decisions in their life so that they can have more fulfillment in their lives. Yeah. Is there any other steps you want to share with us or any,
you mentioned something about dismantling the ego and some people don't know that they have one. And that's really interesting because it's so true. When I tell people they are not their ego, when I tell a client that or show a client that for the first time, and they realize that chitter chatter in their head is not theirs. Yes. It can't be theirs. And they're just like so relieved because they hate that person. Nobody wants to be that person. Right. And it's not you. It's really
that's the
not.
Beauty of it.
It can't be you.
Because when you're in your heart, you're loving. It's when you get out of your heart into your head, into the ego, that you become this crazy kind
other entity. It's literally another entity that lives within you. Yeah. It's not you. That's why you named it. That's brilliant. And I tell people to do that too. Name the ego, name your higher self, give them names so that you realize who you're following and who you're taking your advice from. The ego is only drawing from the subconscious, which are all your experiences, and a majority of them are before you're 10 years old. because you're in that theta state. You're in that learning state where you're absorbing everything around you. So imagine what I was learning: chaos, 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 right? That's what I'm taking in. So I think the world is supposed to be chaotic. When I get out into the world and I'm a little bit older, I'm in my 20s, I'm like, well, if there's no chaos here, I have to create some. This
And it's
doesn't
not
feel
until you
right.
take that pause and realize you could write a different outcome, right?
That's
That
it.
you can take a different turn
Yes.
from what you've been experiencing. So I
Perfect.
want to talk a little bit about intuition or mediumship or whatever you want to call it. I've always known things since a young age. Like I just know things, and I never knew how I knew them, and I don't tell people I know things, but it's what makes me a great coach. It's what makes me good at what I do,
Yeah.
because I feel deeply, emotions and energy. For someone who was not a believer, how do you start to develop that side of you? Because here's what I want to say before you answer, Ray, is every single person listening has intuition, has a higher self, has guidance and access to all of this.
Yes.
But in our culture, we've kind of pushed it, we've come right into our left brain too much of the logical. And I always say we've taken all the magic out of life. Where your right brain is your spirituality, your creativity, your love. So everyone has the ability to access this, but I want you to talk about how did you, start managing that energy and nurturing
I'll give you a story I'll give you a story. I think that answers that question. When I was very young, I think I was about 6 years old, and my parents had some people over and they were all having dinner, and I was just playing with trucks under the table, and I overhear everything, but I'm not really listening. It's just like going into my brain because I'm in that theta brainwave state where I absorb everything I hear and I save it for future use. So the conversation was about fears and phobias. Okay. Obviously I was conscious because I remember this, but it was about fears and phobias. And my mother says, I am deathly afraid of heights. So I noticed that throughout my entire life, when anybody asks me, I say, I'm deathly afraid of heights. I even say the exact words.
Exactly.
So
We're like
when
little parrots.
right. And I don't notice that yet. I don't even know that's a thing yet. But now I go to Peru, and I was about, 51, 52 years old. I went to Peru, studied with some shaman, and I climbed Machu Picchu because the elders of the tribe were going to do this ceremony for us. Because everybody who kind of passed this initiation, you got the ceremony. I didn't even think about heights. I went straight up there. I was psyched. I was pumped. I was like, I'm going to the top of Machu Picchu. Let's go. And I grabbed my wife and we go, and we're at the top. Then we come down and we get back to the hotel room. And I said, I don't think I'm afraid of heights. I think that's my mom. And that's when it hit me. There's so many of those. You have so many of those. I have so many of those. And when I start to point them out, people are like, I'm not my ego.
And that's the power of the pause. I always say you're not your parents, right? They taught you what to do and what not to do. And God bless them. They did the best they could. You're also, that pause helps you say, okay, do I want, someone could say, I'm an alcoholic because dad was an alcoholic. Or the other brother could say, I don't drink because dad drank. So you always have every subject is two subjects, right? You have the opposite of that, right? Chaos is what I was brought up in. So I choose not to be, to be in chaos now. And I think what this journey you've been on is so beautiful. Going to Machu Picchu is a dream of mine. I've not been, but I've done a lot of spiritual searching and just being open to looking at life a different way. I think it was I've read so many books. I think it was Marianne Williamson, or maybe it was A Course in Miracles, who said the situation is never wrong. How I'm looking at it is wrong. So that always says, okay, if I don't like what's happening, I could look at this a different way. And that's what I'm getting from you, is that power of the pause, saying like, I want to just, beat my horn or yell at this person or shoot back a nasty email. But is that the person I want to be in the world?
Right. That's it. Exactly. Perspective. Change your perspective, change your entire life.
So Machu Picchu deepened your intuition? Did it deepen your mediumship?
Well, I would say, that was just a moment. I think people have many spiritual awakenings on in their road, in their journey, I should say. And that moment was definitely a defining moment because it really solidified the fact that I'm not my ego. And many of the things that I do and I say and the way I react or act are determined by this 10-year-old child. And when you think about how ridiculous that is, you really want to start gravitating towards your higher self and learning more about your higher self and how to get there. And the foundation meditation, which we use for manifestation, can also be used to get that connection with the collective, the universal collective. And you can refer to that as source, God, or use any term you wish, but it's in there that everything lies, the answers to everything.
So let's talk about meditation a little bit, because I think I'm a meditator. I don't know if anyone's a good meditator, right? It's a practice. But I give myself 15 minutes. My purpose is to just quiet my mind. Some days I get there for 2 minutes. Some days I get there for 10 minutes. Sometimes I don't get there at all. I don't beat myself up. But talk a little bit about that empty space, or that, what's your focus for this meditation, and how does that work?
Well, for this specific one, I do a guided meditation where I actually narrate it for you and I take you through the entire process. And, we start with the attitude of gratitude, which is being grateful and stating the things that you're grateful for. Because no matter where you are in life, you have good things in your life and you have to recognize them in order to get more. So we go through the attitude of gratitude. That's the beginning. And it's after that we move into the Say It Three Ways process. And after that, we go into something called Visualize with Five. Visualizing with Five is taking your 5 physical senses. Now, this is past tense. So you're taking all 5 physical senses and you're putting yourself post goal. So if your goal was to get a job, you're in that job, you're touching your desk, you're answering your phone, you're smelling the coffee that's in the conference room. You're using all 5 senses and bringing it up into the 6th. That's Visualize with 5. And that's the next step of the process to help you emotionally solidify and send out the right signal. Now, you're sending this out. You're interacting with the collective the whole time, the whole process. And you don't have to manifest the job. You can manifest the better connection with source. That could be the manifestation. So the reason that anybody can do my meditation is because I'm guiding you through it. I'm talking.
Yeah. That's really a good way to start. If you haven't meditated, a guided meditation is really, I totally get behind that and endorse that. And realizing we are manifesting and we are emoting. And again, it's just keeping that open mind to what's possible and what's, what you're capable of, I should say. Because the more you open that door, the more the saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. The books will come, the teachers will come. This podcast, if you're listening to this podcast, there is no mistake. You were meant to be listening to this. So it's, what piece of this can you take with you and, take forward to deepen your intuition? And sometimes I call it gut when I'm in the corporate world. Your gut is constantly talking to you and everyone has an opinion. But then if you just sit with yourself and say, okay, what does my gut think? What does my gut feel? Right? It's always guiding you. And to me, that's your higher self. So, Ray, I always say we need so many teachers out there right now because we are, the energy is moving really fast in the world. And when you understand how to guide the energy, you have a nicer ride than if you're bucking the energy and fighting the energy and wishing things would stay the same or go back to the way they were or whatever people are fighting these days. I'm not sure. But when you realize it's all moving us forward, the stuff we like and the stuff we don't like is helping us evolve. So are there any habits? So my first book was Happiness is a Habit. And it was about the habits of positive, happy people, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. So we're already at 41. I could talk to you all day. Tell us, what's your habit? Do you have rituals, habits? What are the things that keep you grounded and connected?
One of the things, you can extract it from the meditation. It's called the attitude of gratitude, and I mentioned it. And I used to use that when I was at the office. I had many employees that would come in and ask questions all day long, and they would ask me things that I've already answered 40 times, right? So I would take a moment and I would just go into the bathroom and I would say my attitude of gratitude. I am thankful for this job. I am grateful for this job. I am grateful for the money that it pays me so I can send my kids to college, so I can do this, so I can do that, and all the positiveness of that job. So now I went back to my office. The next person that came in with a question got Ray with a smile on his face because he's like, I get to answer this question. I don't have to answer the question. I get to do
What
this.
a great habit to just, I love, just go in the bathroom. It takes 5 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever, that's beautiful. That is so powerful and changes your energy just because you're moving also. You're leaving your space, coming back.
And now you're creating the ripple effect, right? And you're giving it to others. And now they're taking it with them and they're going out and using it.
And that positive energy keeps going. So, oh my God, this is such a good conversation. Tell everybody the name of your books. One is out, one is coming out, I believe. Yeah. Tell people where they can find you. And then I'm going to ask you for some final words of wisdom.
The first book is The Atheist and the Afterlife. And that tells the story of how I got to believing in just about everything we discussed. The second book is where I take those things and show you how you can use them also. The third book, which is coming, is going to be more of a Say It 3 Ways manual, and it will come out with a course. And that doesn't have a date just yet, but you can go to my website, raycatania.com, and stay posted on that. And these are also things I teach in private coaching as well. So you can always contact me through there. And I appreciate you allowing me to say that. I don't do mediumship anymore. Something had to be let go, and that was the thing that I chose not to practice. I have a lot of respect for mediums, but because it really takes a toll on the person.
And define mediumship for people who don't, because mediumship
is the ability to speak to the deceased that are in the fourth realm, which is one realm. If we're the third, the next one's the fourth. And it's the ability to communicate with their energy, which lives on. The energy, I refer to it as consciousness. You can call it a spirit, a soul, or anything you wish, but ultimately it's the energy that is your consciousness. Your brain creates the mind creates consciousness. So the brain is just an organ. It's the mind that controls everything, right? And that mind, when your body dies, that energy that is the mind, it must go someplace. Scientifically, it's the first law of thermodynamics.
If we are energy, we cannot be created or destroyed. So the physical goes, but the spirit stays, or the soul, or whatever you want to call it, the energy. This has been so rewarding for me to open up this door and talk about this. There's so much more I want to ask you. For those of you who, been going down the ND road, that's great. For not everyone should go get this book, because if you are listening to this podcast, you were meant to hear this message. I will tell you, in my early 30s, people kept gifting me books, these spiritual books. Oh my God, the Reconnection, Many Lives, Many Masters, the Seth books. And these were corporate people. And I was like, who are all these people giving me these books? And did they think I have time to read? I don't have time to read all these books. But then I started opening them and reading them. And it's like, oof. Right. It's every time you open a book, and they are my spiritual friends. They are my spiritual teachers. They have taught me so much, and it's a never ending learning. Mm-hmm. So I really encourage you to go look Ray up and see what he's all about. And any final words of wisdom? What's one thing you want you tell everyone that they need to know, walk away with, believe, live with?
I think that the most important thing is we have to remember that we're all one, and we're all connected to that source, and that the collective that I spoke about earlier, we're all one with that. And we're all going to return one day to that collective, which was that light on that day that I saw when I died. We're all going to go back to it. And so remember, hurting your fellow man or woman is hurting yourself, because you're a part of that collective.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful way to end. I'm a quoteaholic. So the quote is, you can't take up sides on a round planet. We all have to be here together, love each other, respect each other, and we are all connected. So Ray, oh my gosh, this was such a beautiful conversation. I'll probably have to have you back, because we could dive into this conversation a little deeper. But thank you so much for being on Rate Your Outcome.
Thank you.
And for today, folks, I love you much. And that is a wrap for this episode.